Hello, everyone, and welcome to the official podcast of BNI Success Link. Today, we are going to talk about the top 3 things you did not know about chiropractic. The official podcast of BNI Success Link, your link to success. Hello again, everyone. I'm your host, Rav Mandirata from Social Squares, and Landing Leads is where my business leads. Today's subject is very painful in some ways. Top 3 things you did not know about chiropractic. And of course, I have an expert on the subject, Dr. Marie Biek. Dr. Marie, thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I know you are one of the top rated chiropractors in Oakland, but why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your practice?
Yeah, so my practice is located in Oakland, and I've been in practice for, I think, 6 years now. And I do a little different form of chiropractic. So I do a form of chiropractic called NUCCA. And with NUCCA, I don't do any of the usual twisting, popping, or cracking. It's a super gentle technique. And I take x-rays in my office, and the adjustment itself only takes place up at the top of the spine.
That's interesting. So Nuka, I've heard it only from you, so I don't understand too much. How did you get into Nuka and why Nuka?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I got into it when I was in chiropractic school, and oddly enough, I was in a lot of pain because I was sitting in class all day, and so I had shoulder pain and I had sciatic issues, and of course I was getting adjusted all the time because I was in chiropractic school. And I would get a little bit of relief from the adjustments, but I noticed they wouldn't sustain, and they never really seemed to kind of fix the underlying issue. And so one of my friends told me about this chiropractic, and frankly, I thought it sounded really weird. And then I just was kind of desperate, so I decided to give it a try and get adjusted this way. And it was one of those things where I couldn't, it was so gentle, and I felt like, the chiropractor wasn't doing anything. But when I got up off the table, I noticed immediately that I was much more balanced. Later that day, my low back popped on its own. I got super tired that day. And then the next day, and I didn't think anything about it. And then the next day I was like carrying my backpack, and I noticed that my shoulder didn't hurt anymore. I didn't have the sciatica, and my body just felt way more balanced and solid. So yeah. So then I just decided that was the route I wanted to take because it made a lot more sense for me.
Interesting. So it's almost like you went to a huge temple. You figured out, okay, this is working, so you'll follow that God. So that's in Indian style.
I mean, kind of, yes.
That's super cool, because that technique worked for you and you saw the
Yeah,
benefits compared to
exactly.
other techniques. That's awesome. And
Exactly.
I've read that in your reviews as well, that the technique is very gentle. That's
Yeah.
super cool. So switching gears, what are the top questions you get asked from new patients?
Yeah. So, it depends, especially if they're coming in, they're just like, I need chiropractic care. And they maybe don't know anything about NUCCA, or maybe sometimes they don't even know anything about me. They just found me online, or or they've been referred, and they're just like, somebody says, hey, you just need to go to this woman. So it depends on where they're at. But generally, like, if they don't have any background of NUCCA, they're very skeptical, because they've been to other chiropractors and they've been adjusted the traditional style. So they're like, how can it be so gentle and actually work? And so that is a pretty common question I get. And the answer to that is that there's just a lot of biomechanics and a lot of physics involved with the adjustment. Everything with the adjustment is calculated from x-rays that I take in my office that are very specific to this technique. And everything is calculated down to the positioning of my body, the positioning of the patient's head on the table, the positioning of my arms. Everything is calculated biomechanically. Wow. From the x-rays. So that's part of the reason that it can be so gentle. and be effective, because it's kind of like if you were to pull on a safe door, that's locked, you can't open it, right? Until you have that very specific combination. Right. And that combination is what I get from the x-rays in my office. Yeah.
That's so cool. So it's like a scientist working on your body. So that's awesome.
Yes, it's super nerdy. It's super nerdy. Yeah.
So let's talk about the title of this podcast. So what are the top 3 things people do not know or misunderstand about chiropractic?
Well, I think one of the big things is people often don't understand how, and I frankly didn't understand until I became a chiropractor, but don't understand how much schooling and education is involved in becoming a chiropractor. Basically, we have pre-med requisites to get. So we have a whole, 4 years of undergraduate, and that's the same as if you were going to go to medical school. And then you have like another 4 years of chiropractic school. And the first 2 to 3 years is mostly not having to do with chiropractic, and mostly learning the body and learning anatomy, learning physiology. And it's the same like sort of core curriculum as an MD would get. So it's a lot of schooling, and a lot of people don't necessarily think that they don't think about that, or they aren't aware of how much schooling is involved.
That's interesting. And what would you say are the other 2?
So another misconception is that people sort of associate chiropractic with the traditional style, the full spine adjusting, which, is a little bit more higher force. And so people don't understand that you can get your body aligned and get your nervous system working good. And it doesn't have to be that style. There's other ways to achieve the same results without having the higher force adjusting. So
cool. Thank you so much for sharing this. Now, I have one last question before I let you go.
Yeah.
I got to ask this because I'm in digital marketing. So what is the top digital marketing strategy that has worked for your business?
The best digital marketing strategy is, oddly enough, has been Yelp. A lot of people find me through Yelp because they just read reviews, and then by the time they've come in my door, they kind of know what to expect and why they're, choosing me. So
that's great to hear.
Yeah.
I think you have awesome reviews and they are working in your favor on Yelp. So kudos to you for keeping at it, and great to hear. And I'm sure other chiropractors and other business owners can learn from that. So Thank you so much, Dr. Marie. Thank you for this podcast, and thank you for sharing such valuable insights.
Yes, thank you.
The official podcast of BNI Success Link. Your link to success.